Hey everyone, Ziggy the English one here. Get ready to witness some serious image magic. You might remember our previous video on using Supir to bring low-quality images back to life. Well, hold on to your hats, because Murphy has cooked up something even wilder this time.
Hallo from the German Ziggy, while my sister is all about the technical stuff. I'm here to tell you that this new workflow is not only powerful but also up amazing artistic possibilities for enhancing your images. It's wirklich beeindruckend.
Oh my goodness, I really need to fine-tune the English voice output for our little German Ziggy. Hi folks, Murphy here, yeah? So, we got this new workflow, right? For the old pictures. You know, the blurry ones, it makes them better. Much better. The Ziggies are gonna show you how it all works. It's pretty cool, I think.
So, my English is all fixed now, thank you very much Murphy. Hello again everyone. And yes, today we are talking about Florence 2. We use Florence 2 to analyze the image and create a description for Supir, which stands for Scaling Up Image Restoration. And then we use SD Ultimate Upscale, which is a special ComfyUI node that helps us scale the results and make them even better. All of this is part of a ComfyUI workflow that you can download for free to improve your old or not so good pictures, and you can run it locally on your own computer. We even have two versions. One for computers with 8 GB of VRAM and 32 GB of RAM, and another one for 16 GB of VRAM or more, and 64 GB of RAM. Yes, I do understand these things, but now, I will hand it over to my sister. She is the real expert when it comes to the nitty-gritty technical details.
Okay everyone, let's dive in and take a look at this workflow together. We're gonna go through the different groups, and we're kicking things off right here with the standard settings. Let me just give you a quick rundown of what we've got in this section. Alright folks, listen up. So under Fast Muter, you've got the option to either use a brand new image size, which you can tweak down there in the SDXL aspect ratio, or, and this is the cool part, you can just let the workflow automatically resize your image to the optimal dimensions for our super image restoration magic. That's why you almost always want to have crop image target size turned on. It's mega handy. Then in the case sampler config, you can play around with the steps and the sampler if you're feeling adventurous. But don't worry, we've already got it set to some pretty sweet defaults for you, and those width and height outputs. That just shows you the final resolution that's going to be used. Oh, and that little seed thingy down there. Messing with that can sometimes give you some cool little variations because it changes the starting point ever so slightly. Quick heads up about picking your models, you guys. We totally recommend going with Mohawk version 2.0 or the SDXL base. But hey, feel free to experiment with other cool models like Juggernaut if you're feeling adventurous. Oh, and just a quick peek over here. We've got another checkpoint loader. And the awesome thing about this one is that the image previews are working like a charm again. So we can actually show you how cool it is to pick your models visually. Pretty neat, huh? Check this out, you guys. We're going to quickly show you how to find the Mohawk model super fast on civit.ai right here through this node. But hey, you can totally just search for it directly on Civit AI as well. And like we said before, we really think Mohawk is the absolute best model for generating those awesome realistic images with Supir. Just our 2 cents. Oh yeah, and just a little side note here, the awesome developer of this model has also made a version available for download with the VAE already baked right in. So if you use that one, you actually wouldn't even need this extra VAE loader node. But hey, we use separate VAs in like a gazillion different workflows, so Murph probably just copied it in. And honestly, I always recommend using a separate one for SDXL anyway. We've even got a switcheroo thingy here, so technically you could delete this extra VAE loader node, and it should still work fine if you're using a model with a built-in VAE. But you know what? Never mind, just leave everything as it is, it'll be fine. I'll show you exactly where to get all these models later on. Next up, we've got the Florence 2 section. This part is super cool, because it basically just looks at your image and figures out what's in it, so it can automatically create a prompt for you. Pretty neat, huh? The settings in here are usually good to go straight out of the box, so you probably won't need to mess with them too much. Up here, you'll see an option to turn on Clean VRAM. If you flip that switch, it basically tells the model to disappear from your graphics card memory right after it's done its thing. We've got this turned on by default for the low VRAM workflow, but usually it's off for the other one. Now, if you haven't got the Florence 2 models yet, we've got a whole video dedicated to Florence too that you should totally check out. But we've also thrown in this handy node for downloading the models directly. You can either delete it if you've already got them, or just use it, maybe switch it to bypass and connect it up. Let me quickly show you how that works. Okay, so I'm just gonna switch back here, and as you can see, we've got a super short prompt selected. That's on purpose because Super actually works better with shorter prompts. All the nitty-gritty details about what else you can do with Florence 2, like we said, are in that extra video. Alright, so in this section you can pop in an extra prompt, or you could think of it as a more standard prompt. For the positive side, things like eye quality, detailed, beautiful woman, and so on. Now, you might see boy with black eyes in here right now. That's because Murphy was working on an old picture for his mom, so I'm totally gonna delete that. And for the negative prompt, you can put in stuff like bad quality, blurry, and messy. That kind of thing really helps Supir do its magic and create even better quality results. Next up, we've got the prompt mixer. You'll see this group pop quite a bit in Murphy's workflows. And basically what it does is it takes different pieces of prompt text and smushes them all together. In this case, we're combining the text that came from Florence 2 with the prompt text that you typed in yourself. Now you'll notice that both of these are set to 2. That's for both clip.lel and clip.g. It's a bit of a special thing with SDXL, and if you guys are interested, we can totally dive deeper into that another time. But for now, just know that 2 means it's gonna use your prompt first, and then the prompt from the Florence 2 model. If it was set to own, it would be the other way around. And 3 and 4 would just use whichever one you've got selected. You can actually see the final combined prompt that's going to go into the sampler right there in that big green box. So let's just set both of these back to 2. Now you might be thinking, could we have just skipped this whole prompt mixer thing? And yeah, we probably could have, because 2 is definitely the most sensible combination here. But you know how it is? These are just the little building blocks that Murph has created, and he uses them to put together all sorts of different workflows. And hey, just so you know, if you were to turn off the prompt mixer altogether, then it simply wouldn't use the Florence 2 prompt at all. That's totally an option too, and you'd just be using the regular prompt you typed in. And just so you guys know, only one signal gets used at a time, and it's always the very first one that's active. Now, if you don't have any signal plugged in at all, your workflow is gonna throw an error. But don't you worry your little heads about that, because Murphy's workflows are usually set up so that this shouldn't happen. You see how it kind of skips over the previous group down there. We don't really need to spend too much time on this next group. You could totally pop a LoRa model in here if you wanted to maybe to add some cool painting vibes, or if you're using a Lightning LoRa model. But the main reason this group is here is because it's another one of Murphy's pre-built modules, and it's what creates the SDXL conditioning that we're going to need a bit later on. From here, the workflow kind of loops back around, and we land at the 2 Supir groups, which we're going to take a closer peek at right now. Oh, by the way, did I already show you guys that Murph has finally gone and nicely named all the bookmarks here? So you can just go up to the top, select number 5, and boom, straight to Supir. First up, we've got this scale for Super group. Now, Murphy really put his thinking cap on for this one. What it does is it cleverly calculates the resolution to make sure your image plays nicely with the Super model. This is especially important if you've got a lower VRAM rig and you need to use those tiling features. If you're not using tiling, then just tweaking the resolution in the start settings might actually be enough. If you turn this group on and set the scale factor to, say, 1.0, then you could even turn off the scaling in the start settings. But listen up, folks, this is important. Watch out with that scale factor. Cranking it up too high is going to make your VRAM disappear faster and free pizza tech convention. That's why using decimal values or even values below 1.0 if your machine is a bit on the weaker side is totally a thing. Going above 2.0 is really only going to work on some monster machines, or it's going to take absolutely ages. So right now, we've got Super with tile turned on. You'll see that the image size gets calculated again right at the beginning here. Yeah, it's a little bit of a double up, but depending on your settings, it's needed every now and then. Doesn't cost you much. As Murph would say, here, you can see the overall size of your image and the size of each individual tile. That little preview image might also help you get a better idea of what's happening with the splitting and the overlapping. We'll actually see this in action live in a bit. Now, For those of you with seriously underpowered machines, you can even turn on extreme tile. What that does is it breaks the whole thing down into even smaller sections, which means it's going to take a bit longer, but it allows it to process on less powerful hardware, and then it stitches it all back together at the end. Alright, next up we've got the Supir model loader. So, for picking your model variant for Supir, you'll definitely want to go with the FP16 models if you're rocking a low VRAM setup. And for those of you on even more humble hardware, you can try flipping the switch for FP8 on it. Make sure high VRAM is turned off, obviously. For the diffusion type, you can probably just leave it on auto. The software is pretty smart these days and should figure it out. But you can also manually set it to BF16. And last but not least, make sure you've got tiled VA turned on for the Supir denoiser, just like you would for the encoder and the decoder. We'll take a closer look at the exact settings for the Supir sampler live in just a sec. But down here, you'll find a couple of nodes with notes. Those are super handy and have some of the most important stuff jotted down for you. And Murphy is also going to be packing a multi-page PDF document into the download for you guys, where you can read up on absolutely everything he's learned about this whole process over time. Yes, that PDF document is quite extensive, about 20 pages of text, and it includes all the sources as well for those who are interested. But perhaps most importantly, the tables at the very end. Yes, that's where you'll find the most crucial information. It's all there at a glance. My goodness, who else but Murph needs something like that? Alright, now let's hop over to the other Supir group. This one's for the lucky folks out there with tons of VRAM and plenty of RAM. The awesome thing here is that we can totally skip all that tiling stuff, so you definitely don't want to use a tiled sampler in this one, unlike the other group where we had to. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot to say here. All the tiling bits and bobs are turned off. And if you've got enough memory, you can even tell it to keep the model loaded in memory. Just flip that switch and make sure you've turned off clear VRAM everywhere. And hey, between you and me, if this group doesn't fit your machine, you can just go ahead and delete it. Murph just included both because Sis here sometimes likes to game on her laptop and it's only got an RTX 3070. And finally, here we are at the SDXL Ultimate SD Upscale Sampler. The awesome thing about this group is that everything is already super well preset, so it's not going to make any drastic changes. It's really just there to sharpen up the details one last time. You can totally crank up the denoise at it a bit if you want a stronger effect. You'll also see the extra prompt and Sigma sampler in there. That's just another one of Murphy's standard modules. You know, doesn't cost you much. The sampler and all that jazz are already set up, so you shouldn't run into any of those weird tiling effects or anything like that. I'd say it's perfectly dialed in for what we need here. And just above it, you'll see a selection of different upscale models. I can't tell you which one is absolutely the best. It really depends on what you're trying to do. But these are some that Murphy still has kicking around on his hard drive because he's gotten good results with them. And as a little bonus, you can just pick one with the click of a button up there. And just a super quick word about these two save image groups. Most of you who've been playing around with Murphy's workflows lately will probably already know this, but real quick, the first one is there to save your images with all the juicy metadata baked in, and it also embeds the workflow right into the picture. The second one is for saving simple JPEGs. It's a bit faster and it doesn't include any of that extra metadata or the workflow, which means smaller file sizes just depends on what you're after. And of course, in both of these, you can totally customize things like the save path and the file names. And finally, we've got this comparison group up here. This is pretty neat. It gives you the option to use color match to tweak the colors. Plus, you can compare the image that's been created with different steps images from the workflow process. So you can see the final result next to the original image or next to an image you input up here, and so on. Murphy actually added this in because when he was fixing up that picture for his mom, he wanted to make absolutely sure that while the image got better, his face still looked exactly the same, even if he ran the workflow a bunch of times to get it just right. Hey everyone! So for this video, we've actually saved two different workflow files for you to download. But get this, they're basically the exact same workflow. The only difference is that we flipped the switches in one of them, so it's all set up to run super smoothly if you've got a graphics card with 16 GB of VRAM or more, and at least more than 32 GB of RAM. And the other one we've called low, and that one should work just fine even if you're rocking an 8GB card and 32 gigs of RAM. You know how it is, ComfyUI is always evolving and so is the manager, and today I'm actually using a cool new feature to show you guys exactly which custom nodes we're using in this workflow. So just sit back and watch. Okay, so I'm just gonna slowly scroll through the list here, and you'll be able to see all the custom nodes that we've used. And of course, the easiest way to get them all installed on your own system, to just hit that Install Missing Custom Nodes button in the manager. Super simple, isn't it? Well, nothing's popping up for us right now because we've already got all of them installed. You know how it goes. Alright, let's take a look at the models you're gonna need for this workflow and where to find them. We already showed you at the beginning of the video that you can download the Mohawk model from civit.ai. For everything else, the best thing to do is just use the model manager right here. You can find all the important models in there. Just watch what I do. And yeah, first up, let's find the VA model. So we'll just filter for that here. So you're gonna need the VA model for SDXL. The cool thing about the model manager is that it saves all the models in the right place for you automatically. Okay, now let's switch the filter back to all, and we'll just search directly for Supir. And there we have it, the 4 models that we can use. Just like with the custom nodes, you can see the link right there at the front, and you can jump straight to the download page if you want to. But you don't actually have to. If you just click install, the models will download directly. Just a little extra tip for ya. You can even find the base model for SDXL right here, but we still recommend doing it directly through the manager. Just set the filter to CAC points and type in SDXL. And there you go. We definitely recommend grabbing the one with the 0.9 VAE. It's better than the 0.0. Trust me, I swear. You guys probably already have this one anyway, and you might not even need it if you're using Mohawk or another model. But hey, we just wanted to quickly show you where you can find everything. Okay, so when it comes to upscale models, you can definitely find some in the Model Manager under the Model Manager section. But if you're on the hunt for even more, there's this cool website called OpenModelDB. On this site, you can search for models, filter them by different criteria, and even check out the license information. Now, just a heads up, I can't guarantee that everything you find on there is totally safe from viruses, so it's always a good idea to do your own little safety check, just to be sure. You can also try searching for Civetons and models. Those tend to be a safer bet. But even then, just like with anything you download from the internet, we can't take responsibility, so always be a little careful. And now, let me quickly show you where these models usually need to go. We keep our models in a separate directory since we use them for different programs. But normally, you should save them under ComfyUI models, upscale models. Alright team, buckle up. We're gonna fire up the low VRAM version right now so you can see this magic happen live. We're loading up one super old, like really pixelated photo of little Murphy. It's a bit blocky, but you can totally still make out his cute little face. Oh yeah, and I've also loaded the photo again up here at the top. It's just something I've gotten used to doing. That way, even if I run through several steps in the workflow, I can always compare the result with the original photo. Super handy. So then, I'm gonna turn on follow execution right now so we can always see exactly where the workflow is doing its thing with the calculations. And then I'm gonna hit that run button, and here we go. First up, it loads the checkpoint, that's our Mohawk model right there. And then it grabs the Florence 2 model to give the image a quick description with a short sentence. You know, we actually wouldn't even need the conditioning if we were only using Super, but it happens so lightning fast that we just always do it anyway. That way, we don't have to think about it later on. Now the Super model is getting loaded. We've actually picked the Super F model here. It's not exactly the most optimal one for just restoring an image, but hey, why not? We'll just let it run. Over in the preview, you can see how the image is getting sliced up into lots of little pictures. Those are the tiles, and they're being processed one by one. That's how it saves your memory. But yeah, it definitely takes a lot longer. So we'll be speeding up the video later, so you don't have to sit here forever. Alright, the video is running at 10 times the speed now, but you can totally believe me, we tested this workflow on Siz's laptop with an RTX 3070, and it does work. But yeah, it takes a little while. You might also try turning off Extreme Tile if you've got 8 GB of VRAM. that should still work. The really important thing for 8 GB of VRAM is making sure FP8 UNET is turned on, which we actually forgot to do in this live demo. But it's definitely preset correctly in the low VRAM workflow you can download. And it's done. What do you guys think? That turned out really well, right? Especially for a first try with the low VRAM settings. Oh, what a pretty boy, and so sharp now. Now I'm going to show you how we can squeeze a little bit more out of it using the SD Ultimate Upscale Sampler. Although, I'm actually going to switch over to the large VRAM workflow to explain all the settings there, but they work exactly the same way with the low VRAM settings too. So definitely stick around even if you've got a weaker graphics card, so you can see all the things you can tweak and what kind of impact that has. Okay, and there we have it, the large VRAM workflow. This time, though, we're going to go step by step instead of just like frantically hitting run. Nope, we're going to take a look at all the settings first and set them up in the way that makes the most sense for restoring an image. So this little extra prompt here, a boy with black eyes, just gives the model a tiny bit of a nudge, a little bit of help. But honestly, the heavy lifting, the main job of creating the prompt, that was already taken care of by the Florence 2 model. Okay, so right now, we're sitting here at the 16 GB machine with 96 GB of RAM. We don't have any problems here, so we don't need to mess with the FP16 model. And of course, we want to restore an image right now. So we're going to pick the Q variant. That one is way better suited for image restoration. You can totally read all about it, you know, in Murphy's 20-page PDF. Or you could just keep watching and you can totally skip all that reading. Easy peasy. We're just going to leave EDMS churn set to the highest possible value for now, that's 40. This setting only actually does something for the EDM sampler, just so you know. Next up is denoise. You gotta be super careful with the values here. If you go too high, you're gonna get way too many changes in your picture like instantly. Now, if you don't really care how close the result stays to your original image, you can totally go higher and generate amazing pictures right away. But yeah, they'll only look vaguely like your original. We recommend staying in the range of 0.001 to 0.006 here. Alright, so DPM++ ETA only actually works if you're using the DPM++ 2M sampler. I'll show you what I mean. We can change the sampler down here. But if you do switch to that one, then you should set Restore CFG to -1.0. Other values won't really do anything there. Okay, but since we want to work with the EDM sampler, we're going to set Restore CFG back to 20.0. That's the highest value you can use for the restoration function when you're using EDM. Alright? Control Scale Start and Control Scale End. These basically control how much the internal control net influences things. We usually just leave End at 1.0. And honestly, how much Start actually influences things, we haven't totally figured that out yet. So my tip, just leave it exactly how it's set. When it comes to steps, we recommend a minimum of 40. Alright, CFG Scale Start and CFG Scale End. These guys actually have a much bigger impact. The higher you crank up the value here, the more the prompt is going to take over. We definitely recommend using really low values for these. And honestly, why there's a start and an end, we're not totally sure either. So we just use the same value for both. The standard is usually 4.0, but we're using 1.2 because we really want to stay super close to the original picture. Denoise, maybe 0.002. Or oh, come on, let's just leave it at 0.003. It's not that big of a difference anyway. Over here, you can see the standard values and the values that Murph used to spruce up his grandma's pictures. And that slacker didn't even translate it. What a lazy dog. Seriously, no words. Alright, the ultimate SD upscale, we're gonna turn that off for now. Because we also want to show you how you can add enhancements step by step without having to recalculate all the stuff that already happened. Or, you know, maybe get the absolute best out of Super first before we even think about turning on the ultimate SD upscale. The same goes for the save groups. We're turning those off completely too. The workflow is set up so that you can save without anything needing to be recalculated. That's the cool part about going step by step. But for that to work, everything needs to be set to fixed. Because otherwise, if you change something in the workflow, like say you change a prompt or something, then yeah, everything will totally be recalculated from scratch. Maybe just a little extra info about the image comparison group right at the very end. Murphy tagged on a little image comparison group here. Up there, we always load the original image so we can use it for comparison at any point. But we can also pick different images within the workflow to compare with the final result. This one note here, I wonder if I already explained it. I'm not sure now, is there to adjust the colors of the finished image to match the colors of the original image. Okay, I think everything is perfectly set up now, and I've explained the most important stuff about Supir. So what's the first thing we need? The picture of little Murphy, of course. Once here, so we can compare later, and then up front as the starting image to kick things off. That's it, we can get started. Hit the run button and let the journey begin. I'm just gonna switch on follow execution again. And unlike before, we are not gonna speed up the video this time. That way, you guys can see exactly how fast this runs on an NetX 4080. Alright, while this awesome workflow is doing its thing, I wanna chat with you guys for a sec. Seriously, if you're digging this video, pretty please smash that like button. We would be, like, beyond thrilled. And hey, you know the drill. Questions, praise, maybe something's bugging ya, or just wanna say hi. Hit that comment section down below. Murphy is totally gonna jump in and answer every single one. Well, okay, maybe not the ones that are just like, what kind of bullshit is this? He totally reserves the right to zap those. But for real, we love hearing from you, so spill the beans. What do you think? Oops, the workflow actually finished running ages ago. Sorry about my rambling. The result isn't bad at all, but we definitely want to get even more out of it, so stick around. Okay, I think the base looks pretty good already. So let's save this picture right here. So turn on saving, hit that run button, and shakalaka, just like that, the picture is saved super fast without anything else getting recalculated. Awesome. With copy clip space, we grab the picture we just made from the preview node right here. And then we paste it into the load image node up front using paste clip space. You could totally get the picture from a preview node without saving it first too, by the way. I haven't changed any of the settings in the Supir sampler at all, so time to hit that run button again, and off we go on the next part of the journey. For optimization step 2, we found through lots of experiments that it's often better to go in with tiny change values and run the process twice to get even better results. Sissy just whispered in my ear. Apparently she would have chosen 0.002 here. She thinks 0.003 adds almost too much detail to the picture. Well, okay, I like it, and hey, wow, check out that result. Awesome, right? This result right now, we could make a poster out of that. Okay, so the resolution definitely needs to go up, but the quality absolutely cannot suffer. Now, there's actually something better for that than Supir. We're gonna use the ultimate SD upscale that's built into the workflow. Which model, like I said before, kinda depends on what you're doing. For our graphical stuff, we love foolhardy Ramarsi. For photos, Ultra Sharp is also a really great choice. We're gonna pick Ultramix Restore here. Since we chose a really small denoise value, the difference between the models isn't huge right now, but you can still slightly feel it. Now, just turn on the SD Ultimate Upscale Sampler and we can turn on the preview too. The rest of the buttons, well, we don't really need them here, but this whole upscale group here is totally straight out of Murphy's little tinkering shed again. We've actually included 3 special, pure upscale workflows for you in our download package. Those extra things make a lot more sense there, but throwing them out, you know Murph is saying, das frisst doch kein Brot. It basically means it doesn't hurt to keep them in. Alright, let's let the SD Ultimate Upscale really rip. 14 steps here feels like maybe a tiny bit much. I think 8 would probably be enough too, honestly. And the sampler. Okay, I think that was one of Murphy's experiments, but it feels like it's running a little slow, right? Or is that just cause we're recording the video at the same time? We're gonna show you guys another super cool possibility at the end in a few minutes. I'm gonna speed up the video just a little bit. You guys can still see how each individual section is being generated. And at the end, the picture is just put together so smoothly you won't even see where the divisions were. And we already have the result. Whoa! We're gonna compare that with the original picture now, the one we have input 5, okay. I think it's almost a little too strong, the effect from the SD upscale. Maybe even less denoise or a different model. But overall, it's still a really good result. Now let's compare the second Supir step with the SD upscale result. Gotta switch to 2 for that. You can really see the effect of the SD Ultimate Upscale quite clearly right here. Then back again. And oh yeah, gotta save this whole thing now too. Here. Yeah, how should I put this? Take a look at this save node. We're using the newest ComfyUI, like the Easter 2025 build, and honestly, if I put an input field on the outside, I don't need to see that same input field inside the node again. And if the values in there aren't even right anyway, then that's just silly. I really hope Murphy's feedback to the developers gets taken into account, and there'll be a way to turn that off soon. Okay, and now, drumroll please, it's time for the high-end version. We are gonna make our computer glow with this one. But hey, it's not too warm today, so we can totally leave the heating off, haha. First things first, let's set everything back to the beginning. We're gonna set the scale factor here to 2.0. That means the Super model has a lot to calculate. Thanks to Murphy's calculation method, you can actually enter values like 1.2, 1.7, 1.5, whatever you want here, and it'll automatically create a size that works for Super. Just as a side note, 2.0 is pretty much the maximum for our machine right now. If we wanted even more, then we'd have to switch back to the tile mode. Of course, we still need to load the original picture, you know, the bad pixelated one at the beginning. We had swapped that out earlier, right? And done. Easy peasy. Okay, let's fire this thing up. Yeah, and yeah. I think the whole box just froze up. Okay, restart. Sorry about that, guys. It's possible that the extra video recording totally overloaded our system with a scale factor of 2.0. After the restart, we're still gonna use the large VRAM option, but we're gonna turn tile on everywhere. We'll leave the sampler the same though. That should definitely make it work. It'll just take a tiny bit longer. Good thing the original picture is loaded now. Oh wait. Haha, that's already done. I just did that. Okay, then we can start while the workflow runs. Remember the like button. And oops, I already said that too. I guess I'm just gonna hit the gas now and speed up the video so you don't have to wait. It works exactly the same way here. It's just that the calculation with tiling takes a little longer. Supir just took almost 4 minutes to calculate and the graphics card got really warm. But for you guys, it only took like 10 seconds. Okay, let's take a look at the result. Yeah, you can totally see it, like around the eyes, for example. Super definitely has a bit more possibilities there, and the result is just a little bit better, even if it does take longer. Now we're gonna run the SD Ultimate Upscale over that one more time, and then we should get a perfect result. Oh geez, sometimes things just don't go as planned. I'm such a scatterbrain. I totally forgot to start the video recording. But hey, at least I saved the picture. So, I'm gonna show you guys a comparison now using a little workflow for comparing different pictures. I'll even put that one in the download package for you too. And then, for the grand finale, with video recording this time, I swear, a cool Ultimate SD Upscale variant. For that, I'm gonna use a standard upscale workflow from Murphy, which is perfect for exactly that. With this, you can now compare all the pictures with each other. Just from top to bottom, the first picture goes on top, and the second one for comparison goes on the bottom. As you might have noticed, I switched to run on change. That way, every time I change something in the workflow, it recalculates automatically. I'm gonna run through this pretty fast now though. If you're more interested in the different variants, you can totally pause the video, or if it's still too slow, fast forward to the last fine-tuning of the picture. You should definitely take a close look at that. Alright then, let's get going. We're using the Upscale SDXL SD Ultimate Custom Upscale Workflow version 5 from Murphy. For the starting image here, we're picking the picture we made with Super at a factor of 2.0. Now we're gonna switch on the Florence 2 model as well. We're using the big variant of the model here, and the prompt generation is also set up just like in the workflow defaults. And listen up, don't use the picture up here for the prompt. We want the picture from the front, from the beginning. That's why we have to leave this top button switched off. Oh yeah, if you guys have questions about Florence 2 or which models to use, we've got a special Florence 2 video on our channel for that. It's in this playlist too. As the upscale model here, we're choosing 4x Ultra Sharp. I think that works pretty well because the starting picture is already really good now. And up top, we're gonna switch on both save nodes right away. Ziggy knows this workflow pretty darn well, and she's gonna set it up so the first run is gonna be pretty darn good. Watch and be amazed. And just look at this. What a detailed and well describing prompt the Florence 2 model gave us here. So cool, right? Okay, seriously, how good is that? But hey, now Ziggy is gonna show you what this workflow is really capable of. We're gonna crank the resolution way up, like through the roof, and I'm gonna tweak the settings to perfection. Cause like I told you, I know this workflow inside and out. Get ready to watch and be totally blown away.
Oh my Ziggy sis. Listen to yourself. Good heavens, you are arrogant, you need to tone it down a bit. The viewers will think you've totally lost your marbles, you're coming across as a totally stuck-up diva. Let me do that for a change. And I'll tell the viewers what you're actually fiddling with there. Wouldn't want you bursting from all that pride. Okay, first, Sizzy is selecting the EDPM++2 MSDE sampler. After that, she's setting the denoise value to 0.1.0 and increasing the upscale factor to 4.0. Whoa, she's really aiming high. But that shouldn't be a problem for this workflow. You'll see for yourselves in a moment. And yes, Sizzy agrees, the viewers saw it, 8 steps are totally enough. That should really be reduced in the super workflows too. But hey, our viewers can do that on their own, they saw it. Okay, the workflow is running. And I've sped up the video by a factor of 2. But just look how well this thing is working. My little sister really did make some good settings. You can watch how the individual tiles are being generated, and we'll have the result in just a moment. It turned out really great, sis. I think you can take over again now. Our viewers know that you actually speak better English anyway, and your job is to lead us through the program. But you know, Murph told me that if you start flipping out too much, I should kinda put the brakes on a little bit.
Oh, now I get to again. But yes, the picture is already really wow. And to finish, I'll show the viewers a direct comparison now between that pixelated little picture from Murphy's childhood album and what I've conjured up from it. For that, I'm using the image comparison workflow, and I'm loading up that pixelated original image and my high-end more than 4-key picture right alongside it for the comparison. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in on the face a bit more now. And I really hope you guys have a 4K screen, so you can truly see just how fantastic this picture turned out. Okay, we did it! Phew, that was really tiring for me. We honestly have way more fun generating pictures than restoring them. But Murph totally ordered us to finally make this video. He built these workflows to really spice up some old memories for his mom. I hope you guys had fun and could take away some stuff for yourselves. Even if it was a ton of info, you should totally understand what Murph built there and how to use it right. And I can't forget to send a big hello from Murphy. My little sister is waving goodbye to and saying stay safe. See you soon. I hope you liked it, and thumbs up and a comment are always welcome. They don't cost anything. See you on the flip side.